With Dr. Kobi Michael, the former Deputy Director General and former head of the Palestinian desk at the Ministry for Strategic Affairs. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
And Ambassador Avi Pazner, former ambassador to France and Italy. Good evening to you. Dr. Kobi Michael, you've been talking about the power or the lack thereof of the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. So when you have a peace process, at least an attempt to restart it, and that is going to be Israel in front of the Palestinian Authority, and the PA is as weak as you describe it, what does that mean?
First of all, I think that the term of peace process is a sort of misleading term. I prefer the term of political process, because I think that the peace is far beyond the horizon. Okay, let's be modest and talk about some settlements that will calm down the situation. It will be good enough for the time being. I think that the challenge that not only the State of Israel but the region and the international community and mainly the Palestinians are facing these days, and not only these days, is the weakness of the Palestinian Authority from the institutional point of view. Actually, the Palestinian Authority, although it is not a state, it's a quasi-state, a semi-state, it is a semi-state in the pattern of a failed state. Now we have seen what has happened here in the region after 6 years of turbulence and upheaval here, and we know what are the consequences of failed states. We see what is going there in Yemen, in Libya, in Syria, in Lebanon, okay, and we don't want something like that in front of our door. And the problem is that all the international community and the French initiative in this regard is a leading example, is concentrating on the resumption of the political process instead of investing the intellectual efforts and the other efforts to find out what is going to be in the day after the agreement, what is going to be there with the Palestinian or the independent Palestinian state in the day after the agreement.
I want to get your reaction just a moment, Ambassador Pazner. First, let's jump back to correspondent Shani Nachshoni standing by in Sarona.
I think that this is maybe the indication of the resilience of the Israeli society, the capacity, the capability of the Israeli society to tackle terrorism, and this is the ultimate answer to the terrorism, because the main aim of the terrorism is to distract,
to terrorize.
Yes, to terrorize, to terrify you, and actually to change your routine of life, and to damage your routine of life. And when you keep your routine of life, actually you tackle the terrorism, and you prevent the terrorism from achieving its aim.
But where does it all go when you see attack after attack? You see civilians who decide our life is going to continue, they mourn, they move on, sometimes in the very same day, and a government that will react with force to whatever attack. It's a cycle that goes on and on. How do you stop a cycle like that?
First of all, I'm not sure that the Israeli government reacts every time with force. I think that at least according to the experience that we have with the current...
Well, not necessarily with force. It can be with withdrawing permits to pray in Ramadan, whatever it might be, a reaction that is sure to anger the Palestinian public.
Unfortunately, in life, and mainly in our reality, we don't have the privilege to choose between the best option and the bad option, or the worst option. Unfortunately, we are forced to choose between the bad option and the worst, or sometimes between worst one and worst two. Okay, so we have, the strategy is to minimize damages. This should be the strategy, and sometimes we do have cooperation and we do have partners in the other side, meaning in the Palestinian side, and sometimes we do not have. And even when we do have some partners, I mean the security cooperation, it is limited to their capacities, to their capabilities, and we cannot rely on them. And I think that the security cooperation is very important, but we cannot rely on that. We have to rely upon ourselves, and I think that we are doing it.